I don't want any special treatment, nor do you. We just want to be treated the same as illegal aliens in America. That's right. You're not going to believe what the United States District Court for the District of Maryland did in favor of illegal aliens over, among others, Second Amendment supporters. Stay tuned. Hey folks, I'm Mark Smith, host of the 4 Box of Gun, a proud American gun owner, constitutional attorney, member of the United States Supreme Court Bar, and I'm proud to say the top voice of the Second Amendment in America. Thank you, 2025 Gundies Awards. All right, folks, so don't want to get you angry here, but it's my job to bring you information so you can make your judgments about where we are in the world. Overall, I think we're doing pretty good, but I do want to flag issues as they pop up. You're simply not going to believe what the United States District Court did down there in the District of Maryland. That's right, of Maryland. This is where I'm from, believe it or not. PG County, where all those athletes come from, Prince George's County. So I know Maryland quite well. With that said, though, shocking development, but really not really shocking because we know that Maryland has become a bastion of liberal democratic politics. I don't remember the last time they had a Republican senator to the U.S. Senate. As a consequence, of course, judges that get appointed down there have to get blessings of those Democratic U.S. senators, which, of course, means you basically have to be a liberal. That's how it kind of plays out. So the consequence of that is this crazy order that was just entered in favor of illegal aliens. An order that you and I just wish, pray, hope for, would ever be even thought about to be entered in favor of those that support the right to keep and bear arms, Second Amendment rights claimants, for example. But no, we don't get the benefit of what I'm about to give you here. Why? Because we are peons. We're subjects. We're simply American citizens that support the right to keep and bear arms is actually articulated and set forth and codified in the Bill of Rights itself. Why would we expect anything in the American court system that's as good as what you can get if you're an illegal alien? An alien. Why would we have such high expectations? Shame on us. That's right. So anyway, let me tell you what just happened. In the United States District Court for the District of Maryland, they entered a standing order. What is a standing order? Well, basically a standing order is what it kind of says. It means what it kind of says, right? A standing order is an order that's been entered by a court, in this case, the entire court system of the United States District Court for the District of Maryland. It applies to all the federal district courts. Those are the trial courts in Maryland. And it's a standing order, which means it applies to every single case in Maryland, in federal court in Maryland. But not just all the cases, a particular type of cases. Specifically, they entered a standing order that automatically applies, period, full stop, in all cases dealing with illegal aliens seeking habeas corpus protection. That's right. You're not going to believe what it said. Specifically, it says in this standing order, which again applies to every single case filed. Here's the interesting part. Listen carefully. This is what makes it special and unique. Because it's a standing order and applies to every case, as soon as you file a case that this applies to, which is a petition for writ of habeas corpus, as soon as you apply, like 1 second after you file the papers on your behalf for a petition, once you file that petition for writ of habeas corpus, guess what? This standing order is triggered and it applies. But what does this order say? This order immediately, 1 second after that petition is filed, rules against the federal government. Instantaneously, the federal government loses, at least initially, the habeas petition. The federal government is immediately told, as soon as that petition is filed on behalf of the illegal alien Bob or the illegal alien Jose or the illegal alien Frederick, whatever it is, whoever it is, the federal government is enjoined and stopped and prevented as a matter of federal law, specifically a federal standing order, a court order, from doing anything bad to that person, from moving that person out of the country or deporting them or doing anything with them. You have to freeze them all if you're the federal government. Now, wouldn't it be nice if there was a standing order in America somewhere that says that as soon as a Second Amendment organization or Second Amendment rights claimant claiming that a law violated the right to keep and bear arms, there was a standing order that says automatically the Second Amendment advocate, the rights claimant in support of the right to keep and bear arms, automatically, at least preliminarily got that relief, and that the government could not enforce that gun control law until further notice. That would be nice. But that's not the case when it comes to us, because we're just American citizens. But if you're an illegal alien seeking a petition for writ of habeas corpus, that's the benefit you get. Let's check out the language of the order itself. The standing order provides, quote, in order to preserve existing conditions and the potential jurisdiction of this court over pending matters, while the court determines the scope of its authority to grant the requested relief, to ensure that the petitioners seeking habeas corpus are able to participate in the adjudication of their requests for habeas relief, including participation in court proceedings and access to legal counsel for such purpose, to ensure this court is able to evaluate their prospective claims for relief based on their in-court testimony that may be offered, and to ensure the government has a fulsome opportunity to brief and present arguments in its defense. It is hereby, ready for this, folks? Listen carefully. It is hereby ordered, a court order binding on you and all of us. It is hereby ordered by the United States District Court for the District of Maryland that upon the filing, merely the filing of a petition for writ of habeas corpus, pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 2241 on behalf of an alien detainee, not a U.S. citizen, an alien detainee, because remember, we're just citizens. We're not important. We're not as good as an alien detainee. That's right. On behalf of an alien detainee, the government respondents, including all those acting for them or on their behalf, are enjoined and restrained from removing petitioners in such cases from the continental United States or altering their legal status, provided that petitioner's full name and their A number, which is their alien number, basically their social security number, if you will, as being an alien, kind of like that, but their number, have been provided to the court either in the petition or in a separate sealed filing. Wow. Hear what I just said? Let me give you the significance of this and compare and contrast. You support the Second Amendment. You're in California. California Rifle and Pistol Association represents you. You go to court because the state of California and Gavin Newsom is doing something stupid with gun shows, with a handgun roster, with a quote-unquote sensitive place, which is a euphemism for government-mandated gun-free zones, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You go to court and you file a complaint saying that the state of California is violating your fundamental constitutional rights in the Bill of Rights. Guess what happens to you in almost all instances? You get to go on a multi-year ride through the court system, up and down, and have the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals en banc you before you're denied your rights, and so on and so on. In contrast, here you have the illegal aliens in the District of Maryland. As soon as the petition, meaning their complaint, their version of a complaint, is filed, the federal government is, quote, enjoined and restrained from removing the petitioners in such cases from the United States. Now, in fairness, to be complete, it does basically say that the federal government has a chance to come in there and prove its case. But until that happens, guess what? An illegal alien in Maryland cannot be removed from America or otherwise. Pretty good advantage, right? I don't want any special privileges. I don't want any affirmative action. All I want is the same rights as an illegal alien. That seems to be the model we should be embracing in the Second Amendment community, perhaps. Anyway, for purposes of completeness, this is what the order goes on to say. It does give the government, how great of the court system, it does give the United States government the chance to rebut this. This is what it says. This standing order shall be entered in every such case, every such case, upon its filing, and its term shall remain in effect until 4 p.m. on the second business day following the filing of the petition, unless the terms of this order are further extended by the presiding judge. Wow. You see? So what they're basically saying is, this is what's really going on. This court says that as soon as a petition is filed, the injunction goes into effect immediately, 1 second after that petition is filed. An injunction is entered against the federal government, preventing them from doing various things, violating their rights, whatever you want to call it, preventing them from moving out of the country, whatever it is, immediately locks it in without anything happening. This is even before the federal government knows this thing has been filed, before you and I know it's been filed. It's literally filed in the court, and 1 second later, that petition for habeas corpus by the illegal alien or illegal aliens is automatically granted. And as a consequence, the federal government is enjoined and restrained. Do you know how long it takes for we in the Second Amendment community to get an order that restrains and enjoins the government from violating our rights? In many instances, it takes months, sometimes years to get such a restraint, such an injunction against the government agents violating our fundamental rights set forth in the text of the Second Amendment. And if you're an illegal alien seeking habeas corpus relief in Maryland, you have to wait a grand total of 1 second before you get an injunction and a restraint against the federal government on your behalf. That is crazy. And it's unfair, in my view, to prioritize illegal aliens at this level above American citizens, to create the presumption that the federal government is wrong and the federal government cannot move them out of the state or the country, and so on. And it's binding on the federal government because, again, this is a full-blown court order. It's signed by George Russell III. I presume in college they went by the name Trey. I don't know that. I'm guessing George Russell III, the chief judge of the U.S. District Court down there in Maryland. And again, this is a standing order. If you violate this order, you can be held in contempt of court. You can go to prison. You can pay a fine. All sorts of bad things can happen to you. And as a lawyer, if you're held in contempt of court, every time you file like an application for malpractice insurance, for example, professional liability insurance, like every other business in America, you have to disclose if you've been held in contempt of court, and that causes all sorts of issues in terms of having to pay more for insurance or not being able to get insurance in the first place because you've been held in contempt by court, even if it's such an absurd standing order such as this. Nevertheless, that is the case. Now, to wrap up, let's compare and contrast. If you're an American citizen, you have the right to keep and bear arms. The United States Supreme Court, in many cases, including in 2010 in the McDonald versus Chicago case, said unequivocally over a dozen times that the right to keep and bear arms is a fundamental right on par with any other fundamental right in American life for citizens. And yet, when we sue to get injunctive relief in support of that right, we get to wait weeks, months, years, sometimes decades to get that relief. I know our friends in New Jersey, for example, had oral argument on quote-unquote sensitive places cases over a year ago, something like 14, 15 months ago. In some of those cases, still no decision out of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. They're still waiting on that relief. We know that the Duncan case, dealing with magazine capacity bans out of California, has been up and down the court system out there in California, all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court for something on the order of magnitude of 6, 7, or 8 years or something like this. And so on and so on. So yeah, this offends me. And what this really is about is you have Democratic appointed federal judges in Maryland, blessed by federal United States senators that are Democrats, that get these ideas into their heads, and they take steps to undercut a Republican administration, especially if that Republican administration is run by Donald J. Trump. So again, I want to bring this to your attention because you need to have this information for your discussions, for your legal filings, for your academic papers, whatever it is that you do. You need to understand and compare and contrast just how lucky in certain respects illegal aliens are and how federal courts are bending over backwards in parts of America to prioritize the rights and the interests of illegal aliens in a way that ordinary American citizens could only hope and dream to get, could only hope and dream to benefit in the same way. And that is offensive and wrong to me. And again, many times in this channel, we talk about how difficult it is to get our rights protected in these federal courts. And yet these same federal courts are doing this sort of nonsense when it comes to people that shouldn't even be in our country and that were let in through an open border policy of, in my view, a president that, even if he knew what was going on, intended for Americans to be replaced by non-Americans, non-Americans who have no exposure, no experience, no interest in preserving, among other things, the American way of life, including the right to keep and bear arms, private gun ownership, and a private gun culture of self-defense. And that's why they want to replace us with people that don't have an interest in those sorts of values and traditions. But again, the big picture here is you need to know what's going on down there in the District of Maryland and compare it to your fights for our right to keep arms where you live and in what you're involved in. All right, folks, so there you have it for today. Make sure you follow me at X @4boxes. Don't forget to subscribe both to YouTube and to Rumble. Thanks for tuning in over the weekend. If you caught me on Howie Carr's show out of Boston, and or if you caught me on Mark Walters' Armed American Radio over the weekend, I appreciate your support when you tune into those shows. And I look forward to talking to all of you again really, really soon here at the Four Boxes Diner.
Orders up. Table 2A.